stop. Don't panic. This is all about brain training and helping your brain get around this new bizarre style of test that you have likely never ever done before. Getting one of these essential courses for free. Tip number 6 is absolutely fundamental, and you are not going to do well in the abstract reasoning without this tip. My biggest trick, and probably one of the most important things you can take away from this video, is to my channel. So if you have clicked on today's video, I'm assuming you have started revising for the UCAT and realised abstract reasoning and finding puzzles is not as easy as you would have first thought. Now, there is no need to panic or worry, because when I was practicing abstract reasoning, I was seriously getting about 500 as an average, and I ended up getting 800 in my abstract reasoning on the day, and so can you. With these 6 crucial tips, by the end of today's video, you will have all the tools you need to absolutely smash abstract reasoning, and it will become one of your favourite sections in the UCAT, even if it does not feel like that right now. And before I get on with today's tips, I am so happy to say that today's video is actually sponsored by BlackStone Tutors. These are amazing medicine application specialists with some of the best resources to help you get into medical school. I really only would work with brands I believed in, and I actually use BlackStone Tutors myself to get me into medical school, and I love their expert resources. Now, make sure you watch till the end of today's video to find out how you can win my giveaway. I am giving away with BlackStone Tutors 2 free subscriptions to their online UCAT course, both worth £99 each. So you would be saving yourself a fortune and getting one of these essential courses for free. These courses really do work. They take the stress and the confusion out of the whole of the UCAT, which I'm sure you're finding right now, and you can have experts guide you through your preparation. Their newly reformed online UCAT course is perfect to prepare from any location at the pace that suits you, and it not only comes with essential resources and practice tests, but you learn award-winning techniques, and I will put all the links and details in the description box below if you would like to check them out. So, first, an introduction to what exactly is abstract reasoning. You're going to have 55 questions and 13 minutes for the questions, which will give you 12 seconds per question. Yes, this is extremely time pressurized, and you cannot afford to run out of time. Now, the first and most important thing is we need to get our heads around the different types of questions. So in abstract reasoning, you're going to see 4 different types of questions. The first one, you're going to have 2 different sets of shapes, followed by 5 different test shapes. You need to decide whether they fit into shape A, shape B, or neither one of the sets. The second type is going to be a series of shapes, and you're going to be asked which shape fits next into the series. Type number 3, I actually had none of. It is very random whether you get these or not on the day, and they're not particularly common, but you do need to prepare just in case they come up. That is a statement, and then you'll be asked to decide which shape completes the statement. Type number 4 is very similar to type number 1, and you will have shapes labelled A and B, and you need to see which one of the 4 responses fits into shape A and B. Are we following? Have we all got that? So those are the 4 different types, and you want to be able to see whether it's type 1, 2, 3 or 4 very quickly. Before we get on to the tips on how to absolutely smash these 4 different types of questions, I thought it'd be important to know the average. So the average scores for abstract reasoning is 638. Now, this is just an average, and you want to be above average. We're not going to be settling for average in this. We want to be going high. And a score above 700 according to Kaplan is excellent, and we want to be aiming for at least 700 in our abstract reasoning. If you do it right, it can be an easy section to score high in and bring up your overall average. Now, we all know how important the UCAT is in determining whether you get an interview at your dream university, and I want you all to get the best UCAT score possible and ultimately increase your chances of getting into medical school. Tip number 1 is to take your time. When you first look at abstract reasoning, it is going to look like a load of gibberish. I remember opening up being, what on earth am I being asked to do? I cannot do this. I can't see any patterns. This is so hard. Stop. Don't panic, take your time, and you will get there. Even if it takes you 10 minutes to find the pattern, sit there and work out the pattern and get your brain used to looking for those patterns. We have got time to be doing these really fast, but you want to train your brain into searching for the patterns, and if you just go after 5 minutes and find the answer, that is not going to help you change the way your brain is thinking. You want to sit at these first ones and really look for the patterns, and you will get there eventually, so don't panic and take your time. Tip number 2 is to learn the patterns and learn the different types of rules for sets A and B. This is going to help your brain in actually finding the patterns eventually, and it is so important to learn them. You also need to make sure you're only making positive rules, not negative ones. So we don't want any rules with at least or, we want them all to be positive. So always has a triangle, or always has circles, or always has 5 edges. You might have heard of the acronyms SCANS or Titans pads. SCANS stands for shapes, colours, arrangements, numbers and size, and Titans pad is a more detailed version which I would really recommend using over SCANS to learn your patterns. These are the different categories that the patterns can be determined into, and personally I find the more detailed ones help me look for the more complicated patterns. It stands for types of shapes, intersection, touching sides, area or size, numbers, shading, position, angles, direction and sides. Now you might think, oh my god, there are so many categories, and actually it's not that bad. Really help you to see the more niche and complicated patterns that with the SCANS you might just be missing out. And you might be asking, what is the best way to learn them? And my biggest trick, and probably one of the most important things you can take away from this video, is create a list of patterns. So for every single section of Titans pads, write down a little list of patterns that you see. I would write down any ones that you find hard or you didn't spot, or just took you a little bit longer to find. For example, shapes. Set A equals 3 shapes, 2 big and 1 is small. Set B is an even number of shapes. I clearly struggled to find this, and I have loads of different shapes, and I did the same for every single section. So for example, set A, 360 total internal angles, set B, 720 total internal angles. These are the more complicated ones that I found really hard to spot, and having a list of them that I used to go over every single time I did abstract reasoning just really got my brain into spotting the patterns. And again, similar ones do come up, so you start to recognize them, and grouping them into different sections helps you mentally go through it in your brain, the different sections and the type of patterns you already recognize. This is all about brain training and helping your brain get around this new bizarre style of test that you have likely never ever done before. Throughout sixth form, for your A levels, for your GCSEs, we have never encountered having to solve puzzles and spot patterns. It's just not how our brains work. So you need these tricks in order to teach your brain how exactly to do this really weird style of exam. So all of these tips are going to be crucial in your preparation and crucial in you achieving highly in this section. Tip number 3 is simply churn out as many as possible. You need to expose yourself to as many questions. Practice, practice, practice. You will not have time in the exam to sit there and go through all SCANS, size, colour, arrangement. Which ones do I know? No, you need your brain to be doing this subconsciously, scanning for the patterns and spotting them automatically. And that only comes with time and practice, so you become quicker and quicker and quicker at spotting these patterns. Tip number 4 is to look for the simplest box. Every single box in the shape section needs to fit the same rule. So there's no point looking at the most complicated one and trying to find the rule from there. What you want to do is look at the simplest box and find the rule from that. If you're really struggling to see a common rule, then look for the second simplest box and compare the two. This is again one of my massive tricks that I don't feel like enough people speak about. I really struggled to see the pattern just from one box. But what I found a lot easier and what worked for me was to look at the two most simplest boxes and compare the differences to find the rules like that. But either way, you need to be looking for the simplest boxes, but not wasting your time faffing around whether this one is simpler than this one or not. You just want to look at it, take a glance and go, oh, that is slightly simpler, and stick with that choice. There is no point spending even seconds faffing around about which one is simplest. You just want to scan and pick it and go with that, else you are going to run out of time. Tip number 5 is to practice on a computer and move around. So my biggest tip for practicing on the computer is to get yourself some of these Blu-ray glasses. I bang on out about these in my How to Smash the UCAT video, which is a very good overall advice for every single section, and I would really recommend checking that out if you haven't already. But I love these glasses. They stop me giving a headache and they help me focus on a screen, because working on a computer is so different to working on a book. So it's really important you get used to spotting these patterns on a screen and not from a book. Also, you need to get used to the fact of moving around. If you are really stuck on seeing a pattern, it can really help to physically move back or move towards or just go to the left or the right. You would be shocked how moving around can help you see things differently if you really have gone blank and cannot see this pattern anywhere. Some types of patterns are called big picture patterns and others are called small picture patterns. So for the big picture patterns, you want to be further away from the screen because it helps you look at the pattern as a whole and you don't want to be looking at the details. So things like position, type of shape, shading, number, area or size or direction are all big picture, and the closer up ones, which you want to be nearer to the screen for, those are sides, angles, intersections or touching sides. So you want to get used to seeing the different patterns from different distances, and this really helped me, especially if I was stuck. Tip number 6 is absolutely fundamental, and you are not going to do well in the abstract reasoning without this tip. And that is simply that you have to move on. If you are stuck like that, you don't want to be doing that on your first way round. You want to flag those ones that you can't see the patterns for and come back to at the end. Not only does this stop you wasting time, but it also means that you go back with a fresh pair of eyes. You're not sat there completely blank, wasting your time staring at a screen. You can come back to it at the end when you are less stressed because you know you've completed the rest of the questions, and just concentrate on the patterns that you can't see. You want to guess, flag and go, but also guess. Do not leave those questions blank and go back to the end. Use your guess letter. I have spoken about this before, but you always need to go with a consistent A, B or C. Proportionally, you're going to do a lot better if you always click A or always click B than randomly going A, B and C. Percentage wise, you'll have a higher chance of actually guessing at least some of them right rather than randomly guessing each time. So I always went with A because A for Anna, whereas you might want to click B or you might want to click C, but just consistently guess with that. And it also stops you wasting time thinking about, am I going to put A, B or C, even if you're doing that subconsciously. Click your guess letter, flag it and go, and come back at the end and then work through your scans or your Titans pads to spot the patterns and think about why you're not seeing them. Those are all of my tips for abstract reasoning, and I really hope this section becomes easier for you. I actually ended up loving abstract reasoning after the entire time of preparation. I spent the whole time hating it, but by the end I actually really enjoyed it. A huge shock to start with, but I promise you if you use all of these tips then you will get there, it will become easier and you'll be absolutely fine. Now for the giveaway, which I am so excited about, and I really wish you the best of luck and I hope whoever needs it wins, you need to head over to my Instagram, everydayana, and there will be the full details of how to enter the giveaway over there. Doing a course really does take all of the hassle out of the UCAT, and I would really recommend going and checking out all of BlackStone Tutors resources, and like I said, I will put all of the links in the description box below. And thank you again for sponsoring the video. If you did find today's video helpful, then please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more videos like this. And if you would like to see more details on every single other section in the UCAT, then please give this video a big thumbs up and comment below if you want to see that. I would love to help you all out in any way. I know how stressful the UCAT can be. I have been there, the tears have been shed over it, but you will be fine. I have all faith in all of you, and good luck. I will see you all so soon, everybody. Have an amazing week. Bye.